an application program interface that will connect to YouTube without leaving YouTube. Zoom then made that relationship so they both can be, and it went real quick. Everybody's there. Everybody looks just fantastic. Okay, so let's talk about where we're going, what's happening, and we'll do some housekeeping in the binnel as everyone goes in. Okay, so today is Monday, April 8th. The next time we meet is on Wednesday. On Wednesday, the 10th of April, and I will say it again, for those of you that I know it's sometimes hard to keep attention, but that's fine. On the 10th, I will give out a review for the exam, which is the following week on the April 17th, which is in person, right, Sophie? In person in the School of Business. One of our advantages for this section is no one is coming afterwards. So we don't have to rush out and have the next class come. We can take our time as we go. Another idea may be, Daniel, is maybe if you could stay a bit longer after the class, and maybe if some groups need some help or something, we can use it almost, and I can help too, is
Sure.
that we can use it as almost like a office hours. So if people say,
Yeah.
hey, just look at my project, see what's happening, we can possibly have that opportunity as well. Okay.
Yeah.
And since it'll be after the class, it'll probably be there won't be too many students around. That's an opportunity. So Daniel, if you'd be so kind, you can stay with us on that Wednesday on the 17th. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Anything that I need to cover that you want me to cover? And we're ready to go. And Charles and Stephanie and Gabriella, what's with our cameras here? And let's see how we're doing. Okay. So let's do some housekeeping here. See what is recorded, what is done. I'm going to share my screen. I even have Excel here, but I don't need. Okay, so everybody see themselves. Everybody looks good, ready, raring to go. I'm going to be in this section. So let's go to the what's due section, and we'll be able to see what's due. I like to even do what's due, some of you, just as a review. The exam, everybody wants to know about the exam, and this is going to be voice to text. It would be great in summarization that they know what our students are interested in is how will the exam be performed, what is in it. We know that it will cover Tech Guide 3, TG3, which was about the cloud. We know that there was one quiz that you can go over under quizzes and exercises. Even if you've taken it twice, you can click on the grade and you can see that quiz. And the cloud computing adaptive assignment in Wiley Plus. I've asked you to read these two links which talk about what is cloud computing. One is by Azure, which is the name. Let me just put this in. Let's put it right here. Azure is Microsoft Web Cloud Computing Services. So basically, along with software Microsoft does, and now is Microsoft's Gen AI product. Now they're calling everything Copilot. And it's good if you can go to Microsoft, copilotmicrosoft.com, you can see their Copilot. The other one is AWS, which is, who does that belong to? And who are we getting to moderate? You'll moderate then, Daniel. Any other volunteers for moderating today in the class?
I could do it, Professor.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your class participation, Charlie. So AWS stands for Amazon Web Services. And we always think of Amazon as doing what? They own Whole Foods. They always do our ordering, whether it's groceries or I have a ton of boxes, too many boxes, don't you think? They're using, but anyways, Amazon Web Services, but their most profitable is their web services. What's interesting is they've been late to the generative AI market. Anybody ever use Alexa? I have it in my home, and basically she's not that intelligent, right? I always think, my goodness, all she's good for me is playing songs, and we have, do karaoke nights at my house. But that's about it, so they need to work on it. Apple also with the Siri is not as intelligent as we'd like as well. So these groups are doing it. So if I look at these will be possible open-ended questions. Remember, Isabel, that we talked about there'll be 2 open-ended questions just like before. One of the possible open-ended is, what is cloud computing? What are the benefits? What are the types? You have a public cloud computing, just like we're using in Blackboard. We can have public we're using in Google, right? When I have my Gmail, that's a public cloud. What does that mean? It's not that it's not password protected. It is, but I'm sharing wherever my information is, wherever my data is. It's in a server where other users are doing it. There's private that I'm not sharing with anyone, and I may be not even going over the public internet, which hackers can grab my data. Much of it is not even encrypted, and then they have a hybrid approach. They have something called IaaS. And what does IaaS stand for? Any ideas? Infrastructure.
Analytical.
Infrastructure, not analytical. Infrastructure, look it up. But it's a good guess. Infrastructure as we just don't guess here for this part, as a service. All that AAS is always as a service. What does that mean? It's infrastructure as a service. The P is platform as a service. And the question is, what is infrastructure? Infrastructure talks about hardware. So what does hardware mean? That it's basically, I rent out hardware. If I'm Isabel, we're going to be, remind me what your major, Isabel?
Marketing.
Marketing. So we set up a marketing company. We're going to do Gen AI marketing for other businesses. And when we set it up, I say, it would be interesting even to have some marketing bots. And what we'll say here is, we'll have some developers. We'll get them around the world. They'll work for us, Isabel. And in this case, I say, you know what, Isabel, we won't even buy hardware for our developers. We'll basically use on demand their hardware. We'll either choose probably Amazon, or we'll choose Microsoft, or we'll choose Google, or we'll take a combination, and we'll basically do the hardware. We can choose as we grow, Isabel. We can choose the CPU that we want. You remember, we can choose the memory that we want. We can choose the storage that we want. We can do our graphical processing unit if we're going to be doing some heavy duty learning models. And if we see, you know what, we ordered 10 of those, Isabel, and then we shrink down, and then we can say, hey, we can have 5, or we can basically scale. And what does scalability mean? Scalability is that it can grow with me, it can shrink with me, I can move whatever I'd like. Platform means what, Charlie? The operating system. So platform as a service means not only can I choose the infrastructure, Charlie, I can choose the operating systems I want to work on. So you remember when we did NinjaTrader, if you didn't have Windows, we said, that's okay, we'll have all our trading done where we'll choose the hardware and we'll say the operating system we want as Windows, or if we want Linux, or we want Mac OS, or we want a combination of it. I don't have to also do what? I don't have to maintain it. If there's a new update, and the new update is the S as a service, the S stands for what, Charlie? Software. And basically, the software as a service means I can get my software to reside. You remember NinjaTrader even that I can do? I can get that resided where? In the cloud, meaning on the internet, meaning that it will be on Microsoft's machine, or it can be on Amazon machine, or it can be Google machine. You've grown up, Charlie, all the time using software as a service. Very rarely do you have it originating on your computer, right? You're doing Gmail, you're doing OneDrive, you're doing any type of, you're using Instagram, you're using X, whatever you're using, any social media, it's done where? Software as a service. They take care of that, right? The disadvantage is you can't use it if you don't have internet access many times. That's all that we need to realize on that. So this is the area of, these are questions that you have in advance, Charlie, that you can then know to answer. And a lot of it is through the textbook, but it's also through these articles. And guess what, Charlie? You have access to all of the internet. You can find them. I don't care where you find these, that you understand this. But these are a start for it. The next part I ask you to think about is generative AI. And this is an article trying to describe how generative AI works. This is quite new. And what are the benefits? What are the case studies? And how does it work? And this is the article that you can read through it. The other one that I gave you is what is artificial intelligence, is this article that I like, and I'll tell you why. Let me open in a new tab. Is this gives me all of artificial intelligence together. Do you see that? So what I can do, Tej, that you can see here, I can say basically what I always want to know is what is it and why it matters. I always ask, what is it and who cares, right? This one is telling me what is it and why it matters. And in this case, we know that artificial intelligence basically is different from traditional computing. And the idea is those machines, basically computers, learn from experience, adjust new inputs, and perform human-like tasks. Basically, the idea is traditional computing. And if I think about that, Charlie, have you taken, what is it, Business 150 or something? Have you taken that course, Charlie?
Not yet. I'm taking it next semester.
Okay, next semester. But basically, it's on analytics, and they do Excel. I think you're taking it now, right, Sophie?
Yes.
Yes, and you've been doing it. But basically, the first part was Excel, right? Or part of it. Did you learn Excel or do some projects with Excel or something?
Yes, we just had exams.
Mhm. Okay, so if you put basically, Sophie, if you put an Excel formula into a spreadsheet, and it's the same formula and the same data, do you expect the same result? Or can I say it in true and false? If in Excel, in traditional computing, and Excel is considered before Copilot traditional computing in the sense that when you put in a formula with the same data, you expect the same results. True or false? This is a review for the exam. So what do you think? True or false, Sophie?
True.
True, right? That if I have, in this case, traditional computing where I have the same formula with the same data, I should get the same results. In a way, that's comforting, right? That if I'm doing my taxes and I have the same income and I have the same expenses and I've done the same deductions every time I do it, I should get the same results. When we did Ninja Trader, Charlie, remember we did Ninja Trader, we were trying to look at the stock market, some of the symbols, and what we were trying to do is back test in order to see how well a certain strategy worked. And if it was the same data, the same strategy, using the same data, I expect that results to be the same. Now, what we did is sometimes what we were using is sometimes we use linear functions. And linear means a straight line, right, Charlie? So if it means a straight line, does the stock market basically usually their graphs usually look like a straight line? We were looking at Ninja Trader, right? And where the graphs was it going like basically a straight line up, straight line down?
I mean, not really, but you can linearize.
No, it's not really. We could assume maybe it was, but we would be getting errors in it, right? Because it would be a lot easier to predict, right, Charlie, if it were straight, right? Keep on going. And in some of them, it's starting like the NVIDIAs and so forth, they were going up so well that it almost looked like it was always linear. But traditional computing does it. AI machine learning, and you can put this in your notes, is based trying to emulate human intelligence. So Charlie, in this aspect, right, and maybe you were taught this from a young age, is that it's not bad to make a mistake, but what should you do is learn from your mistake, whether it's in sports, right, to get improving, whether it's in academics, anything in life, is that based on if I made mistakes before, what do I hope for is that I will improve by basically either changing my behavior or doing it a different way, right? Athletes a lot of times look at videos, right? Do video basically analysis to see, hey, if my backstroke is a certain way, how can I improve it in terms of performance and so forth. So basically, the idea of, notice what the word is, machine learning, is that we learn based on our mistakes. So when it makes errors, which we expect it to do, just like people, we expect to be making errors, we basically, as humans, help the models improve and correct itself. Got it? In generative AI, rather than just following rules, what was unique about generative AI is it produces new content. And have you ever heard, Charlie, about hallucinations in Gen AI? Have you ever heard that term?
I mean, not like in terms of AI, but I've heard it.
Right. Basic hallucination in people, once they take drugs or they have certain issues or basically certain diseases, they can get even Parkinson's. You know, one of the things in later Parkinson's is people feel like there's somebody behind them. There's nobody behind them, but they feel it. It's interesting kind of how the brain works. Almost those neurons don't fire correctly. And what they're trying to do now is almost have like a robot tap people to almost simulate having that hallucination, kind of to retrain the brain to figure it out. So in this case, Gen AI, what it does is it produces hallucinations. For instance, last week I put into Gemini my name and I said, who is Dr. Sarah Rushining? And what is nice here, Charlie, is to even with Gen AI is ask a question so that you know the correct answer to, because then you know if it's produced. And I asked, who is Dr. Sarah Russian? And I think I'm still viable enough to know who I am, right? I'm not demented yet. So it came back with an entire resume. It said I had a PhD, which I do. It said that I work for a university, which I do. It said that which department I'm in, which I am in a department, what publications I have, and I have numerous publications. And guess what, Charlie? It was completely wrong. It said I went to the University of Wisconsin. It said that I was in electrical engineering or something like that, which I'm not. I mean, it was amazing. And it was so nicely, it was formatted beautifully. And it was amazing. And then I went to Copilot, Microsoft.com, and asked the same thing, and it was exact. That's hallucination. So you can't basically deal with that. So what I like about this article on what is, you can think about artificial intelligence, and you can understand this, is it basically tries to emulate a human. How it started off in artificial intelligence from traditional computing, that it can do quickly, very quickly, computations. What a number of computer science researchers wanted to do is emulate human thinking in the brain. And basically, in our brain is basically emulating our neurons, flickering back quite quickly. And you notice in a number of diseases in the brain is when the neurons don't fire correctly. So you can think about self-driving cars, autonomous vehicles, that relies on deep learning. Basically, you think it's not a big deal, but the autonomous cars are able to see, and I know is able to view pedestrians, view everything that's happening in the road, view basically if you're swerving outside your lane. All of that is very difficult. They have a number of sensors, they have a number of cameras, and they have algorithms. And guess what? In their chips, Charlie, that's where they put a lot of the code based on that autonomous vehicles. So it relies on deep learning, and we even take it for granted. What's really pretty good now, which wasn't before, is what we call NLPs, natural language processing. So we're using these computers, and they can be trained to accomplish what I call specific tasks by processing large amounts of data and recognizing what patterns in the data. So this is really good in healthcare. Patterns in the data, that they behave certain ways, patterns, and how do you train it? For instance, credit cards. Anybody ever get, you've gotten before when you use your credit card, and I think everybody in this session tonight has used credit cards, and you think banking industries used AI quite early. They trained on a specific task. That's when it does well. I train it on a specific task. What? To find me fraudulent transactions. When somebody swipes a credit card and they swipe using my number, that basically the system can differentiate. Dr. Sarah Rushenick has a certain pattern of how she behaves in her buying pattern. When it goes outside of that, then it's alert, where sometimes, and when does it usually alert me? When does it usually tell that there's fraudulent transaction, which I've had fraudulent transaction, and for me it was easy to see. I didn't need to be a sophisticated bot to see when I got transactions where it said RU. You know what RU is, Charlie?
Like AIs argue.
No, RU. It was not even that. It was that they said I had transactions in rubles. That I was in the Soviet Union. And guess what? I haven't been in the Soviet Union, and especially now, I ain't going to the Soviet Union. But basically, I didn't need an AI to say rubles. And as soon as I ended up telling calling my bank saying, you know what, I got rubles here. Guess what they did? They didn't say we have AI, we're going to investigate. They shut that account down, right? They even knew, the person on the other end, that is a pattern that I haven't used before, especially when I told them I never have, who buys in rubles anyways? They probably, those in Russia buy in crypto, right? In Bitcoin. They don't buy in rubles probably themselves. So you can see here patterns of data. So this is what I like about this article. It talks about think about it. It's the term artificial intelligence, when you think it's so new, was coined in 1956. But basically you can see that the neural networks is coming from neurons in the brain. You can see this little diagram here. It basically, all these connections have weights, and basically how you train these neural nets to accomplish something is you change the weights. So if I were going to look for instance, neural nets for finding credit card fraud, possibly you could say, hey, denomination. If it's in rubles, right, the denomination has more weight than basically maybe where I was in the world, because I can travel, right? So these early work were for thinking machines. Then in the 80s to the early 2000s, they had machine learning became popular, trying the machine to basically, as it goes, adapt, and basically what I say, learn from its mistakes. Then it was deep learning through the large GPUs and a lot of memory. They started being able to do more complicated tasks like the natural language processing, like autonomous driving. And then present day is the generative AI. And the difference between generative AI versus these others is this is new context. This is not planned. This will give new creative ideas that wasn't that wasn't planned. That's great when I want creativity. Write me a poem like someone else, write me a song, write me a love note. But it's not good when I want, who is Dr. Sarah Rushenick, and they say that I was graduated from the University of Wisconsin. So you can see this, and what I like about it is AI automates, what is it good for? Repetitive learning, discovery of my data. It then through progressive learning algorithms. Remember, Charlie, we did algorithms right in the task. And this is where that trading, what we were doing before when we were using that SMA crossover, was not artificial intelligence. That was a set strategy that someone created before. In artificial intelligence, the artificial intelligence will come up with a new strategy based on the data that no one ever even saw before. And then it will analyze more deeper and get the most out of the data. And then you can see here how it's being used in healthcare, retail, manufacturing, and here. This is why I really think this article is great in terms of, and then when you want to get basically history, today's world, who uses it, how it works, and the next steps. So I think that this is fantastic. So here among this is, what are the subfields? How is AI applied to business application? And what are the challenges? Then, this is the same thing on Gen AI and AI that I talked about. And then today, on Monday, April 8th, we have something called ERP. And ERP, if I think about it, another acronym, right? It's good with this class. That's what I don't like. You see Philip here, this is what I don't like, is when you have that pillow. If I had that pillow, Philip, and I was laying on my bed with my pillow, you know how much I snore. That's what my husband says. I snore, but I would wake everybody up. So it's really hard. So I feel for you. If I were on my pillow, wow. Especially at this time, it's kind of nap time. So ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. And the key is, what the heck is an enterprise? Who cares? And why do we need planning? So Destiny, if I think about it, right, as soon as I call on you, it's a good idea to check it out on the internet here. The idea is, what is an enterprise? You got an idea, Destiny? What is an enterprise? And let me even start with this, Destiny. You and I are in the same enterprise. What enterprise would you say both of us belong to?
Would it be the school, like the
The
university?
school, University of Miami, right, is an enterprise. Basically, you can think about it as an enterprise is a large organization. A large business organization is called an enterprise. And you have some people, Garen, that what they want to do is they want to sell to enterprises rather than individual consumers. That's kind of their goal. Or some companies say, we'll have a special sales team for the enterprise and we'll have a special team for consumers, right? So we can think about it. So the university has, and so if we think about an enterprise, who is in this enterprise? And our common enterprise is the university. So who are the constituents of this enterprise? The university. Any university, really. Who'll be whom, Garen? Who makes up an enterprise of the university?
The students and the staff.
Okay, so basically we got students, right? They're kind of like key. We don't got students, we're in deep trouble, right? I can be in the university. That's why it's, what do they use AI for, Garen? What's the most kind of what companies are trying to sell to the university's AI? Student retention. Why do you think that's important?
Because
Garen?
if students aren't staying, then students won't
Right,
want to
we
come.
lose a lot of revenue. You know, when students come to me and they possibly say, you know, it was the university, we're leaving, right? And it may be two groups that are leaving. It may be groups that say, hey, university isn't for me. They're asking me to leave because I don't have enough, I haven't attended class, I haven't done the work, right? That they're kicking me out. You know, or it may be students saying, hey, this isn't for me, this doesn't fit my, it's a too big school, it's a too small school, it's too much of a party school, it doesn't party enough. I can't imagine it doesn't party enough, but maybe some people feel, you know, I don't like the beach or whatever. So students are one, right? And then there's faculty or another. And then there's basically other employees, right? That I have then the staff, then I have the CEO, I have the CFO and so forth. So these are my constituents. And then who else do I have? Then I have different departments. What departments, Garen, are in the university?
Numerous, like there's,
Numerous, like choose one. First of all, I have all the schools, right?
yeah,
Right. So I have all the
the
schools.
IT department.
Yeah, I have the staff, so I have all the schools, and what do I have to keep track of all the schools? I want to keep track of their revenues, right? Their expenses, right? And then I have basic all the staff, and then I have financial, right? Financial aid. Right, and then what else do I have? And then I got, what else? I got housing. Do I make any revenues out of that, Garen? For a university? Sure,
Yes.
right, I'm getting that. And think about, basically I'm renting out space, right? So everything I have to keep track of. And then I have to keep track of my employees, right? So I have to have what? I have to have human resources, right? So all of this I have to keep track of. I have to keep them track of. Where do I keep track of all of this? Is basically from what we were talking about before of data management. The University of Miami uses, there's many ERP systems. And why do they want an ERP system rather than just a payroll program using Excel or whatever? Is what? What's the whole idea? Is to keep track of it, to keep track of all my resources, plan for the future, right? Be able to what? Get closer to my customer, which are the students, get closer, have a happier staff. They did, just so you know, they did in the university, they did a survey to see how happy was the staff, you know, of faculty, of the medical school, of all the different staff. And what did they find out? That people didn't feel they were much of a community. So now they're doing a big surge that they're saying, we're going to make you feel included, make you feel community-based, just like how students are. So this is enterprise resource planning. So if you think about that enterprise resource planning, if I think about that, is it's all around data. That's the key for my enterprise resource planning is data. So if I even think about it, I can go to this of chapter 12. I can go to even my Wiley Plus. And under Wiley Plus, I can have my ERP information systems. And notice chapter 12 is also available, but I can do my Wiley Plus. And notice in Wiley Plus, they go from transaction processing systems to functional areas to enterprise resource planning. Transaction processing systems are just what is a transaction. A transaction, I go to Home Depot and buy something, right, in Home Depot, and I scan one item, that is a transaction. So basically, that transaction gets processed and it goes to what they call an organizational database. And if you look at this organizational database, you can see this organizational database takes in a lot of data. Notice even expert systems. Notice even my AI can go into these organizational databases. What's important is that I have what they call many times in this ERP is what they call one truth. And what does that mean, Daniel? One truth for an ERP.
I honestly do not know.
Okay.
You can look it up though.
Okay.
It's just kind of difficult.
Before you even look it up, what I have is I have data. Could your data be in several different areas? Your information, let's say your GPA, I'll just give you that. Is there several, people, several departments that want your GPA that could be part of an enterprise resource planning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would the one truth be the data itself?
What?
Is the one truth the data itself?
One truth means that I can rely on this enterprise resource planning and know that it is accurate.
Okay.
That's the goal, right? Because once I go, if it was in an enterprise resource planning program software, I could then get information about you, hold it. The business technology department could get information and hold it from them. And then the School of Business, and let's say the registrar, right? And let's say financial aid. So there could be several people, several entities of having the duplicate of your GPA, Daniel. And what I want from this enterprise resource planning is what they call one truth. Meaning kind of, I can rely on it. When I look for Daniel's GPA, I know that it's correct.
But if that one truth gets hacked, it's over.
Right. That's why we have to worry.
Isn't this the entire purpose for blockchain technology?
Yeah, part of it. But blockchain technology, and I'll show you later on, maybe on May 4th, I may be doing a presentation in Fort Lauderdale with someone that basically tries to show that all that blockchain can be hacked too. You know,
But so why haven't they then? There's a lot of money on the line.
What?
Why haven't they? If they're
they have been, people have there has been, FBI has been after them and so forth. We'll talk about it later, but yes, nothing is.
But it's not the technology itself they exploit. It's usually like the human end.
Yeah, well, it's both, but it's the idea where you're going to find it, right? Human technology, but it's not a end all because that's not been audited. You know, look at but look at what's the guy from what is his the company that is now in prison? Yeah, in prison now.
Yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried, but that has nothing to do with the technology.
I know, but no one basically did any auditing of it. The problem is there was no auditing of it. The problem is it was scammed, right? He basically, but people took it at his word because people aren't checking because there isn't any audit. But yes, that was one of the reasons. That's why people felt like in the future, especially, that it will be more secure in the blockchain. But it has some issues too, in terms of speed and transactions. But this is kind of what they're trying to say. That one truth, and that one truth, the problem is that one truth, is that really the truth? That's their goal, Daniel.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean that it's correct, right? So this is what those ERP systems are. When I look at some of those ERP systems, when I go to one of the most common, even if I ask, you know, what is an enterprise resource planning software? Basically my AI, and we have to check whether this is true, right? And notice here it's trying to show me some of its links here. You know, notice Microsoft has something called Dynamics 365, which is an enterprise resource planning. Why do you think Microsoft loves it? Because it sells to the enterprise. And do you think it's cheap? No. SAP, have you ever heard of SAP? SAP is an enterprise resource planning company that they have. And all of these is basically what? A collection of applications that help businesses manage their core processes. And then you can have it by module. You can have finance, you can have human resources, you can have manufacturing, supply chain, services, and procurement. So someone, let's say the CEO of the university, which is unique, Daniel, would be able to see the overall picture of the enterprise, in this case in the university, and then the human resource directors would be able to see that. The employees will be able to see what they have involved, right? And down even to and one of the ones we're using at the university is Workday. So workday.com is basically, notice here, application using you can buy individual modules or you can use it together. And notice here, Daniel, you can see a dashboard, just like you see a dashboard before, depending on, this is for operational analysis, depending on what my role is in the company and the need to know. So notice what they threw in here, Daniel, is what? Read this: embedded AI for maximum performance. Whether it is AI or not, all I can
I'm
tell
sure they're just driving subscriptions up.
what I'm telling you for sure is marketing was a part of this. We got to get AI somewhere in there. You know what I mean? And then later on, and most people, guess what, who buy these systems, they have no idea what AI is, but somebody told them, oh, we got to get AI. Whether it is or not, isn't. But what you can see that this is really now going towards it. Your people are AI, call it a dream team. Whoever knows, you know. At Workday, AI, look at this. AI, machine learning are at the core of our platform. What that means is more investigation, and as a part of your workflow, they're applying intelligent, right? Not stupid predictions, Daniel, but intelligent predictions and automation like no one else can. And they probably had an AI chatbot write that. What do you think?
It sounds like all marketing buzzwords.
Right. Doesn't it sound like AI wrote that? Because I have no idea what that means. Either do you, but does it sound bad? No. Only to me it sounds bad. Like, my goodness gracious. But anyways, what I am trying to, but everybody's, but that's why I want you guys to be involved. That one is that you can speak intelligently about it, and two, you see that and then they put a person here, right? That's saying, this woman here, that she's sort of smiling, maybe thinking in the back they should have that little bubble there. Does that mean they're getting rid of my job? But they don't say that. But I just wanted to show you that how you find me any enterprise and they're all running around that, you know, and then read report, right? Because they don't tell me and I don't even know, right? So notice that this is so esoteric that they make me download it so they can get my business email. Isn't that right? See how they can get it? And what do they call AI insights on artificial intelligence and enterprise? Do you know how to best use AI and machine learning in your organization? If you said no, you're not alone, and they're not alone either. They don't either. I shouldn't be so candy on it, but you can really see how this is brewing. But that's what I want you to kind of check with to see how this AI works. But what is interesting here is why I'm telling you this is where they're going to, is this enterprise resource planning. And it's the same thing. It's around data. It is now moved. Some of it has moved. It used to be on premise. So it's designed to correct lack of communications among the functional areas. And that's really what happens a lot of times. You know, one school doesn't talk to another school, right? The Coral Gables campus doesn't talk to the well enough to the medical school, all the schools, and what are they doing? So this is basically having modules. And look here, always this cylinder here, Daniel, is the database. It's also more vulnerable in this area because they want to put the data then in one area, which has advantages. But guess what? When you remember when we talked about databases, minimize and maximize problems here, the same thing that's why I'm going over having the database again for the exam, is going over the ERP, the platform, and the database. So notice they're trying, not all of these systems are by the same company. That's another problem. For instance, CaneLink. Are you familiar, Amelia, with CaneLink? Amelia, have you heard about CaneLink?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so basically that's a student. That isn't by Workday. That's by another company called Salesforce. And basically these are sponsored, and here's Salesforce. And I bet you will find AI in there. Try Salesforce, try free thing, get the latest. And what does it say? Boost customer satisfaction with Service Cloud. Doesn't that great? Amelia, you already can understand that. They have a service. It's a cloud service. They're trying to boost customer satisfaction. So what do they have? They have a student under their products, under industries. Let's go to industries. Do we see education? And in education, power connected education journeys for live data. Guess what, Amelia? What is the next one? Data plus what? AI plus customer relation management plus what is this? What's this last word here, Amelia? Trust. Because people don't trust. What the heck is behind that AI? Is it hallucinating? Remember I said these AIs are hallucinating. Can I trust it? People are scared to go into it. And Salesforce for education, personalized learner relationships with AI, drive insights with unified constituent data, deliver lifelong impact, total Salesforce, entire, and notice here, business schools even. Higher education, learn, and even this, learn for business schools. We have it for higher ed, but notice they're saying, hey, who has the most money on campus? Business schools, so let's go after them. A challenging landscape, because why is it challenging? Because there are too many business schools and too many online. Before you only had a few choices. Now you can go online, you can go hybrid. Notice what it is. Student alumni engagement, student access. This is what we use at UM just for students. So you can see how specialized it is, how it's going through it. Okay. So what I'm gonna do on Wednesday is start doing a review for the exam, give you a study guide, and you know that it will cover now chapters 4. Let me write it down. You know that it will cover then chapters 4, 5, TG, 3, 14, 10, and 12. And more on this area than these two. And open-ended questions, I'll give you the open-ended question, but you already know the open-ended questions. Right, Sophie? It's basically on AI and cloud. So let me go to attendance. Any questions? Let me just stop sharing just to see everybody. Okay. So let's take roll. Any questions? I'm okay. So let's do, I will do then attendance. I will stay with groups if they need in terms of their projects, other things that you need. If there's personal things, we go into a breakout room, just me and you. Okay, so let me just do attendance. I'm going, okay. So we'll put you in, Sophie. So Daniel, if you can give attendance to Sophie. And we will proceed. Okay, so share screen. She told me she was going to an appointment. We appreciate her helping out. Okay, I'm going to do attendance. Let me go to check-in. And check-in here. I don't want to run. Start check-in. 4639, folks. Once you're in, we'll see you. Everybody, make sure you have your URL published for next time. We'll spend time review. And look at your project as well. Give you feedback on your project. Stay with me if you have questions. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. And I guess I need to then. So everybody, Tej, are you there? And Destiny, you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And Destiny does, and Charlie, you want to stay on?
No, I just want to say thank you for filling that form out.
Oh,
again.
yeah,
That's all.
no problem.
I appreciate it.
No problem.
Have a good
And
night.
reach out to me anytime.
Okay, great. Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye-bye. Okay, so let me stop sharing.
Sedge?
I don't know what it says. Sometimes people log off. Let me make sure that I've turned everything off, okay?